The afternoon sun licked the corrugated roofs along Temple Street like a lazy flame, and steam from bamboo baskets curled upward in silver wisps. Poor Lin Cheng, known to most simply as Grandma Po, wiped her hands on a faded dish towel and gave the side of her family's dim sum cart an affectionate pat. The hand-painted characters, Cheng Family Tea House on Wheels, had flaked slightly after 39 years, yet the reds and golds still gleamed, promising comfort to those who stopped. Tonight was Hungry Ghost Festival, one of the busiest nights of the year. Lanterns would glow crimson, incense coils would sputter and hiss, and families would jostle shoulder to shoulder through the market in search of food and blessings. Grandma Po's daughter Mei Yun was already ladling congee into paper bowls, while 17-year-old Lucas balanced a stack of bamboo steamers like a circus act. The cart's tiny charcoal stove heaved happily, perfuming the air with lotus leaf rice, shrimp dumplings, and sesame buns. And, as always, at the very edge of the cart sat the Cheng's pride, a complete imperial ear porcelain tea set. Most tourists assumed the family displayed it for show, marketing flourish, nothing more. In truth, the set had belonged to Poland's grandfather, a potter who once supplied wares to colonial governors. The little cups were translucent as dragonfly wings, painted with blue-green waves, and a single gold carp rippling through each bowl. The centerpiece, a teacup with a faint crimson seal inside the foot, was the rare gem, a Qianlongye original rumored worth more than the cart itself. Yet for the Chengs its worth was measured in stories, not dollars. Every shift began with a free cup of jasmine from that teacup. "Taste our luck," Grandma Po would say, and customers swore the tea was sweeter. Lucas, budding chemistry geek, joked that superstition had nothing to do with sugar perception, but he still cradled the cup with reverence. By 4:30, Temple Street was already swelling. Tour groups wearing identical bucket hats photobombed each other beside neon fortune-telling booths. Overhead, loudspeakers crackled Cantonese opera as paper effigies burned in distant metal drums. From the corner of his eye, Lucas spotted a lithe man in a cream linen jacket and a Panama hat moving against the tide like a fish in clear water. One gloved hand rested lightly on a cane. The other flicked open a silver pocket watch before the man vanished behind roast chestnut smoke. "Another tourist with more money than sweat glands," Lucas murmured to May, who rolled her eyes and kept filling lotus paste buns. 7 o'clock. Cue the first wave of serious eaters. Steamer lids clattered, chili oil sizzled, and May's voice danced across the bustle, taking orders in 3 dialects and English. Grandma Po poured jasmine for an elderly couple, and Lucas handed out bamboo chopsticks to a gaggle of polytechnic students. No one noticed the cream-jacketed man step back toward the stool's corner, apparently entranced by the porcelain. The tour guide pushed her megaphone to full volume, blocking Lucas's view. The steamer tower teetered. Lucas grabbed it, cursing softly as his knuckles grazed hot metal. When he looked up again, the man in cream had vanished, absorbed by rippling lantern light. At 10, when temple drums signaled the end of formal ceremonies, the Cheng family finally slid the cart to a quieter alcove, away from the main torrent of bodies. Lucas began his nightly ritual, removing each porcelain piece, wiping condensation with a silk cloth, and packing the set into the foam-lined crate welded to the cart frame. As he lifted the prized cup, his fingers paused. The balance felt off. Only by a gram, but Lucas had spent years studying its delicate heft, the way a pianist knows ivory keys. The glaze looked correct, yet the inside foot was fractionally blurred, as though a microscopic painter's stroke had smudged in haste. He told himself he was tired, that sweat could skew perception, but his pulse quickened. "Ma," he whispered, beckoning May. She eyed the cup. "What is it? Look at the seal." Lucas tapped the rim. "The gold wave should start thinner, then taper into the carp's tail. See, it's uniform." May's brows pinched. Let me fetch Mum. Grandma Po held the cup to a bamboo wick lantern. Hole! Her voice dropped an octave. This is not ours. A hush settled over them, disorienting after the night's carnival roar. Mei darted to the crate and swept aside foam to expose empty velvet, confirmation stark as sunrise. Someone switched it during service. Lucas breathed. Tonight? Grandma Po steadied herself on the cart handle. The festival is only half done tomorrow. Without the teacup we break the promise to your great gong, and that cup is the cart's dagat, our guardian. Practical Mei scanned the dark market. We'll report to police. But Grandma shook her head. They will file paperwork, ask why street cooks own an artifact, then lock it as evidence while red tape strangles. By then the thief slips across the harbour. Her eyes burned. We fetch it ourselves. Lucas felt equal parts fear and thrill. He imagined crime dramas he binged on streaming sites. Yet this was no show. The stakes were woven into his family's lineage like warp threads. We played the evening, hour by hour. There was a man in cream jacket. Glove, cane, maybe arthritis. He stared at the set. Pocket watch. When the group of tourists blocked me, he disappeared. Grandma Po snapped her fingers. Last week, a Mr. Chow visited. Said he collects heritage pieces. Offered to buy our set. She spat aside. I told him antiques belong with those who remember their stories. Lucas pulled out his phone, tapping into forums of local collectors. A few lines later, he located Chow Yu Ming, a private dealer previously investigated for triad links, smuggling but never charged. His shop's in Cat Street, Antique Alley near Hollywood Road, closed now, but tomorrow? Why wait, Mei said. Smugglers prefer night. It's already past 11, Grandma replied, but Mei had locked the cart's wheels, determination clear. We leave it with Uncle Fat, she decided, referring to the neighbouring herbalist. Uncle Fat, eavesdropping, rolled down his stand's shutter and saluted. Go. Ghost Festival blessings. Within minutes, the trio were weaving through Shungwan backstreets toward Cat Street. The district's antique stores slept behind latticed wooden doors, except for one. Amber light spilled from Chow's Emporium, its open doorway guarded by 2 terracotta lions. Lucas peered in. Rows of porcelain vases gleamed on teak shelves. An oscillating fan hummed, scattering cigarette smoke into filaments. At the counter, Lord Chow himself twirled the handle of the pocket watch, hat discarded, gloves tucked into his breast pocket. Grandma Po marched in before her children could restrain her. Mr. Chow, she called, voice steady yet slicing. Something of ours rests here unlawfully. Chow's eyebrows lifted. He bowed with rehearsed elegance. Madame Cheng, an unexpected pleasure. I was heartbroken when you rejected my offer. The market values sentiment lower than commerce. Spare us. Mei stepped beside her mother. Return our teacup. Lucas noticed a side door ajar, a fragrance of seawater wafting in. The harbour lay down the hill. Smugglers could ferry goods to waiting speedboats. Chow stroked the gold carp on a pot. Forgive me, you mistake me for a thief. Perhaps an admirer visited your cart and decided to acquire provenance. Enough riddles, Lucas blurted. We know you hired someone. Chow's lips formed a half-moon smile. Young man, I could sue for defamation, but let me suggest a trade instead. I will pay your family handsomely. Hand over the remaining pieces of the set, and the forgery becomes moot. Grandma Po's palm smacked the glass counter so loud porcelain rattled. Those cups poured tea at my wedding, at my husband's funeral, and at my granddaughter's 1-month celebration. They are not for sale or barter. Fetch the cup. For a flicker, Chow's charm cracked, anger exposing itself like porcelain beneath chipped glaze. You cling to sentiment, but sentiment feeds no mouths, he snapped his fingers. 2 hulking silhouettes emerged from deeper within the shop, sleeves tattooed with red koi. Lucas felt Mei's arm tense beside him. Reflex told them to run, but behind was only the deserted street with no allies. Breezes rattled bamboo wind chimes, each metallic click like a countdown. Then an idea sparked. Lucas leaned to Mei, whispering one sentence. She blinked, then nodded, slipping a hand into her tote where spare bun dough lay cold and elastic. Lucas turned back to Chow, voice loud. "Fine, my mother and grandmother can negotiate tomorrow, but I at least want proof the cup is unharmed." Chow weighed the request, then signaled. One henchman disappeared into a storeroom. Seconds later, he returned holding a small red silk pouch. The guard loosened its drawstrings and tipped its contents into a jade plate. The porcelain teacup, luminous under display lights, gleamed with undeniable authenticity. Delicate wave patterns, subtle translucence. The seal crisp like a steely fingerprint. Lucas's breath caught, but he kept composure. "Thank you. We'll see you at 9 tomorrow." He bowed, tugged his family backward before the men reconsidered. Outside, the door slammed. A wrought iron grille slid with finality. "Why walk away?" Mei hissed once they reached the corner. "Because a smash and grab would get us killed. But that pouch tells me the cup hasn't yet been boxed for shipping. Chow's property backs onto Wahang Pier. He'll move inventory on the midnight tide." "Then we intercept at the pier?" Grandma Po whispered, eyes fiery. They hailed a battered red taxi. Lucas texted 2 friends from school who crewed the Dragon Rowing Club near the pier. If luck held, their boathouse key still worked. Hong Kong's harbour stretched like spilled ink under moonlight, container cranes blinking amber. As the taxi sped west, Lucas messaged updates, thumbs trembling. When they hopped off by a chain-link fence, his classmate Ben waved them through. "You owe me bucket loads of hargo," he greeted with a grin. Within the boathouse, oars and life jackets sagged in quiet rows. Lucas scanned an equipment pegboard, picking a miniature ultraviolet inspection torch, his hobby for authenticating collectible comic covers. Mei filled 3 plastic bottles with water and kneaded the abandoned bun dough, adding drops until it transformed into a sticky, malleable paste. Grandma Po, more agile than her 68 years suggested, found a fisherman's hook pole. "Just in case," she mused. Ben pointed toward a loading berth where a small motor launch bobbed. "Chow's men rent that slip. I've seen them crate antiques onto cargo junks that hover beyond customs radar. Launch leaves on high tide around 12:30. It was 12:10. The Chings crouched behind stacked dragon boats. Diesel fumes drifted as 2 tattooed guards hauled a wooden crate along the plank. Even at distance, Lucas recognized the red silk pouch tucked into a corner of the crate, among straw padding. A tall figure, Chow, oversaw the process. Kane now exchanged for a tablet he used to scan QR shipping codes. Lucas whispered, "We puncture their outboard fuel line, delay them until police can arrive." Mei shook her head. "By the time police respond, crate crosses the maritime boundary. Then we board and extract the cup." Grandma's battle voice held no tremor. 3 of us, 2 of them, plus Chow, Mei calculated. Lucas flexed the ultraviolet torch. "We need distraction." They watched the henchman leave the launch momentarily to fetch manifests. In that slim window, Mei sprinted cat-quiet down the pier, dough paste jar in hand. With rapid smears, she clogged the latch of the crate's padlock, the paste drying like concrete. Meanwhile, Lucas unclipped the fuel primer bulb and slipped its hose. Without pressure, the engine would sputter moments after ignition. Footsteps returned. Mei dived behind coiled rope. Chow's men resumed loading. One wrestled with the padlock, frowning at the sticky mass, but Chow barked to hurry. They would break it on board. Chow untied the mooring and hopped inside. The engine coughed, started, then hiccuped. Lucas signaled. Mei and Grandma Po advanced with purposeful strides onto the pier in plain sight. "Oi!" Mei shouted, hands on hips. "You have something of ours?" The henchmen's heads jerked. The engine sputtered again, then died, listing the boat sideways. In that moment of confusion, Lucas leapt aboard from the dock's lower rung, grabbed the red pouch, and vaulted back. Years of dragon boat training had blessed him with spring. He landed beside Grandma, pouch clenched. Fury ignited Charles' eyes. One henchman drew a switchblade and advanced onto the gangplank, forgetting the latched rope coil underfoot. Grandmother Poe flicked her hook pole. The rope looped, tightening round the man's ankle. With surprising strength, she yanked, and he crashed to the dock, blade skittering into water. Sirens wailed in the distance. Bent had called Marine Police the moment Lucas boarded. The second guard hesitated. Chow, trapped on the immobilized boat with no engine and a useless cane, weighed his shrinking options. Return the crate contents or face theft. Smuggling, assault charges, Mei declared, voice as crisp as fresh turnip cake. Even your lawyers can't swallow that menu. Sirens grew louder. Blue strobes painted the pier. The remaining guard dropped to his knees, hands up. Chow exhaled, shoulders deflating like a punctured float. He produced a key, unfastened the crate padlock. Maize dough paste peeled off like shed skin, and allowed officers to peer inside. Besides the teacup, dozens of jade amulets and Song Dynasty scrolls sat catalogued for illegal export. The police took statements and evidence. One inspector, recognizing the Cheng name from weekend visits to Temple Street, assured them the cup would be expedited through processing. Because ownership was uncontested, the theft witnessed, and art crime officers eager for good press. By 3 a.m., the Chengs trudged back toward Jordan District with the teacup wrapped in thick bubble film, escorted halfway by grateful officers who promised to keep Chow detained pending arraignment. Temple Street slept now. Incense embers glimmered among ghost offerings' ashes, and lanterns swayed like tired sentries. Uncle Fat unlocked his shutter, relief slackening his jaw when he saw the pouch. Inside the cart they unpacked the tea set. Lucas positioned the genuine cup at the heart of its porcelain siblings, then poured steaming jasmine to brim. Grandma Paul lifted it, eyes moist. "To family, old and unborn," she whispered, sipping. May tasted next, cheeks flushed. "To standing up for our stories." Lucas inhaled the floral steam, throat tightening. "To the cup that taught us courage, and physics, subterfuge, and tactile memory." They laughed, exhaustion loosening into giddy release. Beyond them, the first violet hush of dawn slipped between tower blocks, and the ghosts, appeased, drifted back to shadowy realms. The Cheng cart would open again in a few hours. Shrimp would hiss, buns would bloom, mouths would fill. No patron would guess the night's clandestine rescue, but when Grandma poured complimentary tea, the flavor would indeed be sweeter. Not from sugar or superstition, Lucas realized, but because victory has a taste no recipe can fake. Still, he added 2 extra teaspoons of honey to the jasmine kettle, just in case the ghosts were listening.